From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 2365, this is Ham Nation Headlines for Wednesday, March 1st, 2023. Our top story takes us to New Zealand, which is trying to recover after Cyclone Gabrielle touched off a national state of emergency. On the North Island, at least 11 people were killed and thousands were reported missing.
Radio operators with Amateur Radio Emergency Communications, or AREC, were put to the test after Cyclone Gabrielle swept through the North Island, bringing floods and damage to infrastructure. AREC volunteer members and other licensed hams had braced themselves in advance of the storm's landfall on Sunday the 12th of February. In Auckland, AREC began providing radio support across the region for field teams and maintained VHF contact with the region's 14 civil defence centres plus local community response groups. Volunteers logged contacts, handled logistics, phone calls, communications and used their PC skills as needed until AREC was stood down at midday on Thursday the 16th of February. Meanwhile, in hard-hit Hawke's Bay, amid rising rivers and power outages, only 3 AREC members were able to respond, each working 12-hour shifts. As Newsline went to production, search and rescue workers were also arriving from Australia. This is Jim Meechan, ZL2BHF.
Hours after a 6.4 magnitude earthquake rocked the already stricken region of Turkey and Syria on Monday, February 20th, mainstream media turned its attention to the critical role that amateur radio is playing there.
With communications taken down in much of the region of Turkey and northern Syria, amateur radio repeaters on VHF and UHF frequencies kept communications open for rescue work and other aid. That dramatic story was told on the BBC programme Digital Planet on Tuesday the 21st of February by Aziz Sasa, TA1E, president of the Turkish Amateur Radio Association. The retired engineer was interviewed by the presenter Gareth Mitchell, an amateur radio operator himself with the call sign M7GJM. Aziz said that following the disaster, VHF and UHF repeaters throughout the region had been the only means of communication for 7 days, as rescuers and agencies shared frequencies and information. He said that the longer distance capabilities of HF were not as essential because most of the issues involved were local and could be handled via VHF shorter range frequencies. Asked what the greatest contribution of the hams has been so far, Aziz said simply, "We helped in saving lives. I believe that's quite a nice thing for us." This is Jeremy Boot, G4NJH.
A call has gone out worldwide for hams to get on the air to bring greater attention to the needs of individuals who have autism.
Amateurs throughout the world whose lives have been touched by autism are going to be getting on the air to help raise awareness of the autism spectrum disorder during World Autism Awareness Week. Between March 25th and April 2nd, operators will be looking to log stations using any mode of their choice with the goal of directing successful contacts to the events page on QRZ.com. This is all about education. Amateurs in the United States will be using the call W2 Alpha. Hams in other countries may want to secure local special event calls, but they will be able to use their home call instead if a special call is not available. All participating hams will be calling CQ Special Event Autism Awareness Week. The organizer, James, KB2FMH, will also be setting up a Discord chat group channel to help operators coordinate their bands and modes to make the most of propagation and traffic. Operators outside the United States should also let James know what call sign they will be using. Hams have already expressed interest from around the world, but more operators are still needed. This is Paul Brown, WD9GCO.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Jim Meechan, ZL2BHF, Jeremy Boot, G4NJH, Paul Brown, WD9GCO, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT, at the news desk in New York and our news team across the globe, I'm Don Wellbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.